it's Bernadette back with another episode, and today I have Lucy on the call, and what we're going to be talking about is our next class project. And before I get into it, I really need to apologise for the way I look, because I'm in Echuca, and you know that feeling when you've been on site for a week living in a caravan, you feel really manky. Well, yeah, so there you go. So don't complain that you don't get the real view.
It's the life of a renovator. Yep.
It is. It is. So, so just to give a bit of backstory, I was thinking this was our second class project, but it is actually our third, because the first one we did in Sydney with 4 partners, and the second one was last year. We did the one in Newcastle. And then, so now we're looking at the third one, and each time I think we get better along the way. And I guess the goal is to improve as we go on the process. I think, is it worth starting with what is the value of doing a class project? Do you want to?
Who is the class project for?
Yeah, but also what's the benefit of it? Like, we want to really make sure that that it is delivering value, because otherwise, if it's not really much point in doing it. Do you know what I mean?
I do. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah, okay, we'll start with who it's for. And predominantly it's for Wonder Women, women in our program, who have committed to their education. And I guess the thing is, we have 3 levels of Wonder Women now, starting from our lowest level, which is, I think pretty achievable for most people to invest in, right up to Diamond, which is where Lucy is. What do you have any
Yeah, so within the community of the School of Renovating and the program that you offer, we have a number of people who are very interested in renovating properties, but just don't have the confidence to actually get out there and get going. And that's why they come to us, to the school, and they want a hands-on experience in order to learn the practicalities of what's involved and get a real feel for how to overcome the obstacles that are involved with renovating. So even on retreat, there are a number of women who wanted to get involved so that they can actually be a part of it as well. So it's the ability to learn kind of through a course-like model where it's safe. They can ask the questions, they can see how we overcome these obstacles that arise during the renovation process, and then have the confidence to be able to adapt that in their own projects down the track. So it's really like a baptism by fire kind of experience, I guess, but in a safe way. Also for people who don't have the ability to renovate now, but they have the means to be involved as well. So it's more than just people who want to learn. It's actually people who just want to be a part of the community and a part of the project.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
That's and so and for you, what does it mean for you?
For me,
yeah,
I am actually really honored to be asked to manage it, because for me, it's a major confidence boost that you trust me to be able to execute this project in Melbourne. So I'm very honored that you thought of me to do it. For me personally, it means that I will be able to expand on the skill set. So it'll be a new project that I haven't done before, probably on a scale that I haven't done before. But also will give me an opportunity to kind of, with the strategy that we're adopting, to duplicate and maximize the profit potential through duplication, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Because so I suppose I know we have talked about this in other forums, but not here, and it's probably important to elaborate on. So do you want to talk a bit about what the strategy is, what we're planning to do?
Yep. So we have the main strategy that we talked about was buying a block of units or apartments that in one block that we can renovate and strata and sell off individually, and that's how we make the profit potential. There's also the ability to do a structural renovation on a home, which would be dependent on how much we can raise through financing. Will determine the strategy, but we've got to have a lot of fat in it. We've both been talking about, it needs to have a lot of fat so that we're covering our risk and we're maximizing the ability to profit from it.
Yeah, absolutely. We've done plenty of practice. So, and the thing is, the standard 100K reno, like 100K profit, doesn't go very far. And not that the whole intention is profit, but yeah, we want to make sure that there is enough fat in it for, to warrant the amount of effort, because it is a bit of an undertaking to take on like 10 or 15 partners as opposed to just doing it with one or two. And we want to involve as many people as we can, because it's a unique experience, and particularly for someone who's not had a lot of experience with renovating, it really is valuable to be able to have some skin in the game, but not have the level of risk that you would normally have, because that sits with us, or me in particular.
And some of the kind of safeguarding this investment for people is through the due diligence process. So we've got some great tools on our tool belt to help maximize the potential for profitability in this project. So we've got John Lindemann that we can use. We've got great negotiators in our tool belt as well, great buyers agents that will help protect us from buying the right property at the right time with the maximum profit potential.
Absolutely. And of course, when you've got, that's the flip side of it, when you've got so many people invested in it, you really want to go in at belt and braces to make sure. And I think that I really love the whole unit block idea. One, because it's always been on my bucket list, and two, because there is more than one opportunity for profit, and layering those opportunities, as in, obviously, first the cosmetic plus reno, secondly renovating the exterior of the property. Like usually with an apartment, you're stuck with what you get, so having that opportunity is a great value add. And the third thing is, if it does require strating and separating, that's another opportunity, because a whole block of apartments or units has a limited market, and so just by separating them really opens up the funnel and makes them desirable to a larger cohort of people.
And the other benefit is that some of those apartments will be tenanted at the time, so there is some income coming in whilst you're doing the other apartments that are vacant. So you can then possibly renovate the apartments. You can either move people from the unrenovated apartments into the renovated ones if you decide to do so, or you can sell them off as you go, and then use one apartment to sell the others off the plan as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's multiple ways you can keep it going, but you can still have that revenue stream coming in whilst you're doing, a percentage of vacant apartments at the same time.
Yeah. And I guess the fact that we've decided to do it in Melbourne this time is relevant. And because one thing we do know, Melbourne, well, from the information we've received lately, that Melbourne as a whole, the market's not looking all that great for the foreseeable future. But for us, we don't really need the market to go up. We need it to be fairly static. Have you got anything you want to say about that?
Also an amazing time to buy.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's an amazing time to buy, which means it will only stay static or go up substantially. So it's not going to drop anymore. So yes, I think it'll be an amazing opportunity regardless. There's always a demand for apartments. There's always a demand for accommodation, so there's the ability to Airbnb, rent out, or sell,
Yeah.
depending on what strategy we decide to adopt when the time comes, and that will be based on the market. So there's no doubt that income will be coming in. It's just, worst case scenario, if market drops, we have a backup plan.
So the thing, I guess the thing that is, something that we need to navigate is the fact that the opportunities in the price point, we're looking at something around the 1.5 million mark buy price, and the opportunities for that mean that you have to be fairly flexible with area. So you can't say, I am going to do a project in Preston, because these might be 2 or 3 years apart in the price point that we want. So that's a bit of a challenge.
Yes. So finding something within that price point, you're not going to get as many apartments either, but that's fine. That's not an issue as long as the fat is there and the profit potential is there. I think it's a no-brainer.
It's interesting. I was talking to John Lindemann, and he was talking about another group who did something similar in Melbourne. And he said that they, the first thing that happened, they bought a residential house but had an intention to convert it into part commercial, part residential. And the first thing that happened was that the house burnt down.
No.
Yeah. Oh, well, I don't know whether it entirely burnt down, but I didn't really
You
go
are post-renovation.
Like within a week of settling. And
Hopefully
then the next thing so I would imagine that would have changed the plan a bit. And then the next thing that happened is that they basically had to woo the councillors to get them to approve what they were wanting to do, because it was in a heritage overlay. And so I guess the moral to that story is we have no intention of being that like gung-ho or brave or whatever the thing is. I think we really are focusing on bread and butter type properties, so that we're not, and like that would have been a great learning experience, but I think that we want our learnings to be not quite as what's
a
the
bit
word?
more than that.
Colourful.
Absolutely.
So, and that's a lot around, our due diligence, making sure, one, not being too creative with like we can all be very resourceful and creative if we need to be, but setting out with a creative strategy, I think is probably a little bit foolhardy. But so hopefully, well, not hopefully, we'll be doing everything we can to make sure that it's pretty plain sailing.
Exactly. So Bernadette, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, of course.
So speaking of the last class projects and the 2 class projects that you've done before, with the first one compared to the second one, and the second one going on to this one, what are some lessons that you've learned through each project that have helped you fine-tune what to do moving forward in this one?
So I think with the first one, I actually managed it in its entirety. It was 5 weeks. It was quick and pretty straightforward. So what were the learnings from that? So we bought that just after COVID struck. And I guess my main concern about that was that had there not been this sort of query about whether the market was going to drop 40% or not, I probably would have made more structural changes, more around putting a second bathroom in. It was an apartment.
2-bedroom apartment?
Yeah, it was it was 2-bedder. Yeah, but it only had 1 bathroom with a powder room on the main bedroom, which was big enough to turn into an ensuite with the moving of a wall. But I just decided, given the rhetoric around the market, it was really crazy to be going into an approval process that could have made the project drag out. And so we got in, got out, got it done quickly. In hindsight, that was, the market didn't drop and went up, and it wasn't an issue. I think the main thing from that was I really wanted the next one to be a house, because with a house you have so much more control. And that was our decision to go to Newcastle because we had a budget of about $1 million and we couldn't buy a house in Sydney for that. As we know, the Newcastle project was extremely challenging because of how Newcastle was affected by COVID. We had shutdowns, we couldn't get trades, and we really did a great job considering. I once again was managing it, but I had to basically pull in a team of our members to get that finished. If I doing it on my own and trying to run a business just wasn't working. Plus, it was at a time when my mum was dying, and so I made the decision that I needed to not be 100% managing the project. That we needed to go to that next level where someone else managed it. And so that's probably been my biggest learning, and because it needs to be an opportunity for you as well. And so personally I think it's a win-win because it gives you the capacity to be able to run the project, and it means that I'm not wearing all the responsibility. The other decision I made was that I was not going to manage any of the documentation, as in the books. The other problem was we were using a company to manage the joint venture and they just did not deliver. So that was another nightmare. And so what we've done this time is asked our accountant to take responsibility for basically the financial and legal management of it, which I think is a good move. Yeah, because it's not our area of expertise. And I think all we should be doing is making sure that the risk is managed and that the right person is, taking responsibility for it.
Yep.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah, no, that feels great. I think we'll have the thing with the community is that if there are any obstacles that need resolving, is that we have the tools that we need to resolve I feel like we have the tools, we can resolve anything.
Yeah.
So any obstacle that comes up, we're a powerhouse, we're a brains trust, we just get the job done.
Exactly.
So I feel confident and comfortable because I know I have that insurance behind me, which makes it much easier to move forward to this next stage and lead this project.
Yeah. The other thing that's important to talk about is we've been doing joint ventures for quite a few years now, and we've really changed the way we manage them considerably. And one thing that I have learned along the way is that the idea of doing a project as friends is a good idea, but you can't run one as a democracy. You absolutely need to have someone where the buck stops. Because if you don't, there's got to be a driver, basically. And so you and I have split that job. You're driving the project. I'm driving the strategy. But if you don't do that, then you're at the risk of it losing momentum, which can have a negative impact on the outcome.
And I think in my experience with Freiburg, the last class project, one thing that I noticed, and correct me if you have a different opinion here, is I think we gave people too much of a say in a lot of the aspects of the renovation. So people were able to express their opinion, and that just caused a lot of confusion.
I think they did have the say, but in the end, we made the decision that was right for the project. And it was interesting because people wanted the say, but when it came to the crunch, they weren't there, basically. And that's when I made the decision to have the people that were actually on site be the ones that actually helped us get it finished, to help with the management of it, because they turned up. You know how they say 90% of success is turning up. And so and I think as a JV participant, there is no, if you're just an investor, there is no requirement to be there. But if you want to get the most value out of it, you want to be there. You want to, when there are opportunities, there's working bees, you want to get there and get in, because that's where the opportunity really lies for you.
So those of us within the community who are not in Melbourne, they will have the opportunity to partake in what was it, styling? Well, we're going to do a styling challenge.
Well, so that's yet to be decided. But one of the things that Brian, our accountant, said to us is, "Oh, why can't you do it's the same thing as the block, have teams, And I said, basically because it's a logistical nightmare and we need to maintain a control of the quality.
Oh,
However,
but it's so much fun.
yeah, but then we thought, well, maybe we can run some styling challenges, because I think what you find is if someone's invested in a project, a lot of them will actually turn up on site at some stage. So if we had some sort of, we created a challenge where we had teams and they styled or whatever, styled for sale, well, then we could, I think that would be.
Christina on my team.
Pardon? What'd you say?
Christina has to be on my team.
You're not allowed to cherry pick your team members, Lucy.
Pretty please put it out there.
But yeah, so I think that, and because it is important that that we provide opportunities for our community to really engage and to have a bit of fun along the way, because that's what keeps the bond strong. And it's those strong bonds that we really, rely on when the chips are down. So yeah, I would agree with that.
No, I can't see you.
Sorry.
No, you're right. I also loved when we presented or pitched the class project at Retreat, the amount of people that wanted to be involved in and have a role within the project, which is fantastic, because it just means that it will give you and I the ability to delegate certain things, because we already know how to do those things. We can delegate those and focus on the main objective, and hopefully people can learn from that part of the process. Depending, it could be bookkeeping, contacting trades, scopes of works, whatever it may be. We'll give them the opportunity to learn how to do that and build confidence as well.
Absolutely.
So that's a way of managing this project really well.
Yeah. And so given that you're going to be on site, how do you feel, how are you going to manage like anyone wanting to come and have a look at the project? Because that will happen.
Yep. I am more than happy to have people on site. It will just need to be announced beforehand in case there's any dangers with having people on sites at certain times. So that is totally fine. We'll have working bees. We'll have days where we're painting or whatever we need. Or some people might have a day where they want to be on site because they've got the day off, and that is totally fine with me. But we'll just have to make sure that it's safe to do so from a liability standpoint.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, there's only one other thing that I wanted to mention as well. We are likely going to be doing like a YouTube channel.
Awesome.
And filming updates as we go on every step of the renovation, so that we can maximize the learning potential from the project. So what I kind of had in mind was, if we're doing a kitchen reno, we can record the kitchen reno, edit it, and have maybe classifications on each stage of the reno. So this is how you do a kitchen. This is how you do a bathroom. This is how you do, the plaster, the floors, whatever it may be. And just record weekly updates and everything that we're doing as we go, so that there's documentation as to what's happening. But also we can pull bits out of all of the video that we take and create a whole channel on, this is a kitchen renovation, this is a bathroom renovation. Those ways to really learn, and you can refer back to it so that you understand each stage. Like, I've got a neighbor a couple of doors down who's doing a bathroom renovation, never done it before. I just went over there this morning and just did the whole scopes of works for her, and she was getting quotes for $40,000 for the bathroom.
Yeah.
We've got it to 20 just by managing it herself, right? So these are just things that you can learn as a student, being part of the project. I'm talking to the community that are listening now, not you personally, Bernadette. I
Oh,
know
good.
that you're doing. But that people can learn through the process and then be able to duplicate it and have that step-by-step guide as well, for when it comes time to do it themselves. It's just a confidence builder.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Awesome.
a great investment.
Yeah. So I guess what there is to say now is that have we got any more to discuss about the project and the structure?
I think not the structure necessarily, but did you want to talk about the backup option, or are we just going to talk about the apartment concept?
Well, I think we will just stick with the apartment because we'll try as hard as we can to,
Yeah.
and I think we will be successful in finding the right property.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if we find that we can't and we've got to pivot, then we'll come back to that. I think we'll be doing reasonably regular updates on it, so we can revisit it then. I think
Did
probably
you
the next.
talk all about the due diligence process?
Sorry?
Did you want to talk at all about the due diligence process?
I wanted to talk about the steps. You know, what's next. So at the moment we're getting expressions of interest, and I'll put a call out at the end of this session, and we won't be able till we've got the structure set up. So once we've got all those expressions of interest, one of the things that we're doing on this one, which we didn't do in the last one, was we'll be getting an investment loan. And so we've been, that will mean that we'll probably have 2 people that perform that part of the process. We've got one, so we're just waiting to find the second person. Once we've done that, we will start the process of getting the legal structure set up, people in it, and getting from past experience, getting all the documentation in place is a little bit time consuming. We want to get that done first before we start looking for property. Once we get that all set up, we'll send out applications to anyone that's put in an expression of interest, and we will seek formal application. There will be a fee for that, and that money will fund the setup.
Yep. Beautiful.
And then the next step will be to start the property search. I think because there's limited number of properties that meet the criteria, initially we will do that ourselves. And if we need a buyer's agents, I've got a few ideas about that are probably different to what we've done before. I won't go into the detail now, but once we've found the property that we think is right, then we will need to do quite a bit of due diligence, because normally if you're buying a property to flip, you would do your research in your target area before you before you even start looking for property. But because we have such a broad target area, we actually need to do that process afterwards.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's
Because
going to
there's
take.
not much availability. So we
No.
have to kind of go where there is stock and then do the research.
So we may get some input on that, because we've got other people's interests, not just our own. We may get some input from some of our experts with that, just to ensure that we get the right property and that our feasibility is sound. We may use, it just really depends on what we find. We may use a negotiator to purchase, probably will, and then and then move forward from there.
Perfect.
Yeah. Have you got any more to add to that, Lucy?
No, I think we've covered most of it. Do you think anyone needs to know about my experience, or do you think
Oh, well, you may as well. Yes, let's do that. Let's do the interview.
No, I'm just wondering if like, because I mean, people may not know me from a bar of soap, so it's kind of like, well, what experience do I have to be able to manage this renovation? Therefore, you know, if we can instill hopefully a little bit of confidence based on my experience, that might, because not everybody knows who I am, or I haven't met everybody before.
Yep.
This stage. How do you want me to do this?
Well, so how long have you been involved with us for a start?
Yep. So I joined the School of Renovating Community in 2017. So it's been a while. After I did what was it called back then? 100K Reno?
I think it was called the boot camp.
Boot camp? Yeah, that's it. So, and I did the boot camp in order to educate myself about renovating my PPOR at the time, my principal place of residence. From that point, I learned so much through that renovation and fell in love with renovating. So I was able to purchase a property down at Safety Beach in the Mornington Peninsula that was in pretty good condition, but just needed a bit of a freshen up. I think I spent about 15,000 freshening up that place. So not much, but it did have a very positive outcome. We held that for 18 months and then sold it. I also sold my PPOR and purchased a property in Kyneton in the Macedon Ranges in Victoria, and renovated that property at the front and subdividing the block. So a micro development strategy there. Then I purchased an apartment which was in a joint venture structure in Hawthorn East in Melbourne, and that was a buy flip sell. However, the market dropped in the time that we were renovating it, so we're holding it, and it's now a successful Airbnb until the market picks up. I also purchased my current PPOR in Surrey Hills in Victoria that I'm now working on as a renovation. So that's my reno history. And I also have a website that you can see some before and afters on those properties as well, which hopefully we can put in the notes.
Yeah,
this
absolutely.
Podcast.
Awesome. Yeah. And I think the reason I think that you are a good candidate for this is because you have invested significantly in your education. You follow the process. You're committed to best practice and not just, because it's fine to be interested in the pretty, but you really need to adopt some principles around that manage the risk and make sure that you get the right outcome. And you've got great communication skills, which is 101 with renovating. So, and particularly a project of this type. So I'm really excited that you're going to be the project manager.
I can't wait. It's going to be great. It's going to be stressful, but it's going to be great.
I don't think it will be as stressful as you think. And you do remember, I'm going to be there occasionally.
Yes,
it's a joint thing. So once I get back from Echuca, we'll start meeting regularly to get this show on the road, because I'm shortly going to be down 2 projects. So Darley Street.
Wow, that's amazing.
Darley Street finishes in 2 weeks. This one will be finished in about the same time. And so I will have a bit of bandwidth, which will be good. And so what we will do is do another call out to make sure we've got everyone's had an opportunity to apply to be involved in it. Mm-hmm. as I mentioned, the application fee will be probably around $1,000. That'll probably give us enough money to manage the administration of the project. And yeah, so if you are listening to this podcast and you are a Wonder Woman and you that either a starter, a launchpad, or a diamond, and you would like to be involved in the project, you'd like to be one of the partners, then just send an email to me or Lucy, and we will send you out the details. Session shortly to for anyone that's missed. I know a few people have asked if we're going to do another one, and we will. Well, that'll probably be the first thing that we do when I get back, Lucy.
Awesome.
And if you're not a Wonder Woman and you would like to be involved in the project, I'll just, yeah, as I said before, you don't need to be a diamond to be involved, although diamonds do have first preference. But I'm pretty sure that we'll be able to involve everyone who is interested. And just once again, shoot me an email and I'll we'll have a quick chat and see whether that might be possible. Okay, so I think we've covered the topic adequately. Thanks again, Lucy, for being so willing to take this on. And I think the second half of the year is going to be very exciting.
It's very exciting. And also, if anyone has any questions about the class project, they can also put it up on Facebook as well.
Great, good idea. In the She Renovates, either in Wonder Women Facebook group, if you're a member there, the School of Renovating Facebook group, or She Renovates, which is our private public Facebook group. So thanks so much, Lucy. Thank you, Mikey, once again for being behind the scenes. And I better get back to it.